you have to understand so much of what you see in front of you is one big game. What's up, Johnny?
Hey James, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Hey man, thanks for the invite.
Yeah, I'm glad that we were finally able to make this work. Your assistant was saying that you're from Canada, or you were in Canada visiting your parents?
I was in Canada. I am from Canada, so both of those are correct. I live
Oh,
in
okay.
Colorado though.
Oh, okay, cool. Where were you born in Canada?
I was born southwest of Calgary, just on a
Oh,
little cattle ranch.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in Toronto now.
Oh, you're in Toronto, right
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah.
You're
So that's
from
why I was like,
Toronto?
oh, yeah. I'm from Brockville in Ontario. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I used to live in
yeah.
Toronto, right down at Bay and Wellesley.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's gonna be insane here if the Jays
Seriously,
win. It's gonna go
we'll be
absolutely
watching. I get
insane.
so nervous. I'll like turn it on. I'm not. I can only watch one inning, and then I'll turn it
Yeah.
off, and then I'll come back.
Well, that was like the fourth game or whatever. I was watching up till like 10 innings or something, and then I just said I gotta go to sleep. And then they went for 18 innings.
Yeah, that was insane. Well, tonight will
Unbelievable.
be interesting. Well, it'll be fun because everyone it's Halloween, so
Yeah,
that's kind of cool. But man, I hope they can do it tonight. That would be great.
yeah, that'd be
They certainly
incredible.
can. It's just, got to do it.
Yeah, yeah, they still have to go through it. They definitely have the ability for sure. When I asked you the one word for the podcast, like what came to mind for you when I said that?
Sorry, can you repeat that again? Something I couldn't hear you.
No worries. So for this podcast, I always ask the guests to like bring a word or something that's meaningful to you, and I find it's a good place to start.
Yeah, my word is always climb.
Climb. Okay. So
Yeah.
why I know you have a book with that in the title. So why the word climb for you?
I mean, I grew up near the mountains. So much of my life, the metaphor is that's what life's about, right? It's this climb, and when we're not like we were born to walk uphill,
Mm,
and when we're not, we can we can be in base camp only so long, and then if we're not climbing uphill somewhere, we're just selling ourselves short.
yeah. Yeah, that's a really great like metaphor for life. I was just listening to Stephen Pressfield on Dr. Andrew Huberman's podcast. Really,
Yeah.
really, really great podcast if you want to check that out too. But he talks about the same thing in terms of like identifying resistance in your life, and your soul's purpose is almost the thing that you don't really want to do. Very similar to climbing a mountain. You want to do it, but you're like, but it's going to be so hard.
For
And
sure.
it tends to be the thing that like kind of frees you and makes you feel like accomplished and motivated in life. You started, correct me if I'm wrong, but you started your career in ministry before becoming a leadership consultant.
I did. When I came out of college, I wanted to be a film director and make movies, but then life just throws you those unexpected curves. And I ended up going into ministry, um, which was just like not on my list of top 100 things I might try in my life. But I just liked helping people. And
Right.
so that's how I got into ministry. Was from there. I had to learn how to speak on stage because I was, like I said, I grew up on this small cattle ranch in the foothills of the Rockies, this shy, introverted, redheaded kid. And I just had all these insecurities to get over, but you had to for the job. And then that ended up leading into my leadership development company, but that was more out of sort of a burnout moment in my own life.
Mm. Yeah, that my question was going to be like, what was the aha moment for that experience where it made you realize that like the same principles of human motivation that you were using could be then translated into like a corporate or business world?
So how I got into leadership development was it was honestly a time in my ministry career where I just started to feel not happy and not fulfilled. And that's a really strange feeling because you've got all these people around you saying, "Oh, you're so lucky to have this job. I wish I could have that job." And so outwardly I'd be like, "Yeah, I am so grateful to have this." But then I'd be driving home thinking, "Why am I so unhappy?" And I'd feel guilty for that. because when you're in ministry and you feel like, well, I'm sounding like this ungrateful kid, like,
Especially in that field.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
sorry, God, I'm working for you, but like, I'm not happy, like you don't even want to admit
Right.
that. And even to
Uh,
think of changing careers, you're like, that's almost like quitting on God. And I even had a boss one time tell me, like, you can't leave the ministry. It's like a gang, right? Like once you're in, you
yeah.
can't leave.
You're
Oh,
leaving it behind also, but I don't think like I can, work at a gym and then quit that gym, but still get a membership at the gym because it's a
exactly. Yeah,
healthy
that's a good way to look
experience
at
for
it.
me. Like, well, this shouldn't be any different here.
Yeah, because your identity is not so tied up, right, in that. Ministry
Hmm.
can be dangerous in that way. Actually, I mean, working anywhere can be in that way if we get our identity tied into it. But it was during that time also where I thought, like, I wanted to do something more, maybe on the side. And I thought, what could I do? And that's when I discovered the world of public speaking. And I met this guy who, when he told me how much he charged for a speech, which wasn't even that now, like looking back, it wasn't that much. It was like $3,500. But I was like, what? Like that's more than I make all month. And you're
Yeah.
doing that in 1 hour. So I thought maybe I could speak on the side and make some money. And then it was like, what should I talk about? And I'd followed John Maxwell back then as a young preacher and his leadership stuff. And of course, he started as a preacher and started a leadership company. So I thought, oh, I could talk about leadership. So this is a long way around to answer your question about when I decided to go and help in the corporate world. I had all these insecurities of like, what do I know about leadership? Because I'm just a minister.
Hmm.
And it would take me years to realize that I actually knew a ton more than I gave myself credit for. Because ministry is, and honestly, probably any not-for-profit is similar in that you're leading this group of paid staff, but then you've got this massive group of volunteers. And
Hmm.
in a church setting, you can't fire them, you can't kick them out, like unless they've done something so egregious. So you got to make everyone get along. And so you're just putting in thousands of leadership reps all the time. And that's really where I cut my teeth on leadership. And so as I got into the corporate sector, and then I realized, oh, wait a minute, people are people, and this is about motivation and moving them.
Yeah. So how does like someone transition from, and I mean maybe you can touch on a couple things, but how does someone transition from being part of a team to then moving into a leadership role, but like then becoming like a real leader for their team? Like what is that climb, to use the word?
Yeah, that's a really challenging climb when someone is a member of a team and then they're promoted to lead the team.
Yeah.
And
It's like the
there are
Stanford
two
prison
kinds.
experiment. You
Yeah,
separate this group
exactly.
of friends into like, this is the leadership team, and now you're the staff. And it's like, we were just having lunch last week, and now he's my boss. Like,
Yeah, right. That Zimbardo prison experiment
yeah.
showed tons of crazy stuff. So there's two kinds of promotions that you can have. There's the kind of promotion where everyone looks at you and like, why them? And then there's the other kind of promotion where everyone looks at you and it was like, well, it's about time they put him in that place or her in that place.
Yeah.
You always want the second one. So here's the thing, if and for anyone listening, if you're ever on a team and you get promoted, first of all, hopefully you're being promoted partly because of your influence with your team. Like you can be a leader without title in that you are looking after the people on your team. You notice when someone comes in and they're not quite okay, and
Hmm.
you're just like, hey, everything okay today? Like that's actually leadership, and that builds that social influence, that relational influence. But then when you actually get the promotion, there's a few conversations that you have to have. And if you don't have these, you just get off on the wrong foot. So, for example, there's the conversation you need to have with your best friend on the team if you had one, like the same person you went to the bar after work with, or you post on each other's Facebook or whatever.
Yeah.
You have to have a conversation with that friend to normalize the new relationship within the confines of work, where it's got to be like you've got to have that conversation of obviously this is the role. There's certain things I'm just expected of that I'll have to expect of you. And I just trust that you're going to respect that. So this doesn't fracture our relationship, our friendship outside of work. That's
Hmm.
one of the conversations that you need to have. Probably another conversation that you need to have is also with the team, right? Where you are letting them know that, hey, you're super excited and honored to be able to be their new leader and that you're going to need them and rely on them. And also, here's what you're going to need from them. So you just got to have those normalizing conversations, because if you don't, you start leading and then your buddy comes in hungover and you're in manufacturing and you're running
Yeah.
heavy machinery and you know he's hungover because you saw his Facebook post from the night before,
Yeah.
and
His
then you've got to have
Instagram
that
stories. Yeah.
conversation, right, without ending the friendship. So it's awkward, it's definitely difficult.
Yeah. Have you ever had like a Hell's Kitchen moment where you came into a company that was in complete chaos and disarray and was able to, help them sort of get realigned on things?
Well, I've never been able to like curse everyone out like Gordon
Okay,
Ramsay
that'd be
on
great.
Hell's Kitchen, but I love
Where's
that
that
show.
TPMS report?
I love that show. I've got to, yes, I've got a chance to be in several turnarounds where you walk in and things are at a disarray. But instead of cracking the whip, usually because it's not for TV, we're taking a little bit more time to find out, okay, what's the problem? So in times where I've gone in to help a company turn around, part of it's just been ears to the tracks, talking to a lot of people, what's going well, what would you like to see different? Some simple questions like that, collecting all your data, and then, all right, everybody, let's go here. So whether I'm the leader or I'm consulting, that's the idea. But to give you an example, there was one company that asked me to come in, and they had one of their manufacturing plants. It was okay, but they wanted it to be like gold standard. And
Hmm.
they kept saying, like, we have a problem here. We need to raise the standards and have more accountability. Well, that was true. They needed to do that. But you can't just walk into a place and then just raise the standards and start holding people's feet to the fire. I mean, you can, but how you'll get off a lot to a better start is understanding this idea of like the bank account. So think of an analogy like a bank account.
Okay.
All relationships are I don't want to say transactional, but there's a sort of a bank account to them. There's deposits and withdrawals. And it's not like we keep this balance sheet, but we sort of do in our
You're,
head. Like,
you're like exchanging energy.
yeah,
Like I'm
that's a
putting
good
my
way to look
time
at
and
it.
effort into going to work for 40 hours. I'm giving my time and effort to my boss for those 40 hours. He's giving his time and effort to me to help me with things. Because some people will say, I just don't have the time for that right now.
Yeah, we're looking for a reciprocal
Yeah.
relationship, right? So let's even go into the home. You've got one when the deposits and withdrawals get out of whack, and somebody is making all the deposits and they feel like their partner's only making withdrawals. Well, eventually that becomes the conversation, like, hey, you never help me out with any of the housework and you're always doing this and this and that. That's just an example that the value exchange is out of balance. Well, same thing happens in the workplace. So any leader and anybody who's listening to this who's a manager or a leader, there's withdrawals that you have to take from your staff. Like, you expect things from them. If they haven't done something on time, okay, you got to talk to them about that. Maybe everybody had to take a pay cut, right? That's a withdrawal. Any of these things
Yeah.
that are difficult. So you got to balance the bank account with some deposits. Otherwise, you go into the red. So it's the same thing with deposits, can be caring about your staff, taking a genuine interest in them, praising, rewarding, recognizing them, not micromanaging them, and really trusting them with autonomy. All those are things that give to a person. So in a workplace, when it gets out of balance, so let's go back to that manufacturing plant where they're like, we just got to raise the standard. Okay, you do, but that's going to create a ton of withdrawals. So you also need to raise the deposits. You better start appreciating people more, recognizing them more, caring about them more. Because if you don't do that, then what happens is you're going to have people say things like, well, I'll come in and do my job, but don't think I'm going to do anything extra.
All right.
That's how people sort of balance the account, so to speak. So you just got to understand that. I like what you said from an energy perspective, right?
Hmm.
It's energy in, energy out. Make sure that you always have money in the bank so that you can make deposits or withdrawals.
Right. Yeah, totally. Where I work, they have a really great system of enforcing. Forcing is a harsh word, but um, putting putting out there that they would appreciate a team that like appreciates each other. And so, if someone went out of their way to help you, you can like write down. They call it like a star card. You can
Hmm.
nominate them for like there's a draw at the end of the month, and then maybe it's Blue Jays tickets, maybe it's like extra it's an incentive for helping other people around you. And it gets to the point where people are even like surprised if you give them one. They're like, "Oh, I just thought you needed help, so I gave you that help. I wasn't even." They're not really thinking about that anymore because maybe it's $100. It's really not that much money where you're like whatever, but you feel good recognizing and appreciating someone else, and then you want to do that for others.
100%.
Yeah. I want to go back to what you were talking about before about burnout because I really think the topic of burnout is something that people will not only relate to, but often like seek guidance in dealing with, avoiding. Do you think that burnout is avoidable or meaning like if I go to the gym and I know that if I do 15 reps of bicep curls, I'm going to hurt myself, right? But because I've done 12 before and I felt the strain, so now I stop at 10. Is there a way to sort of like see or feel burnout coming and kind of turn yourself around?
Yeah, 100%. So if we think about burnout, it's good to think of it from an energy perspective. And it's when our energy depletions are just totally, through the, gone. But we burn energy in a couple different ways, right? One physically, one emotionally, one even mentally. So you can be burnt out in one area and be okay in others. Like you can be mentally burned out. You can just be mentally burned out because you've just been logging week after week and you're trying to solve stuff. You can be physically burned out because you overtrain and you don't get enough sleep. But they all impact each other, right? But
Hmm.
when people get burned out, everyone's going to present it a little bit differently, but you get to a place where you start to die inside, where you feel dead. You've lost your creativity, you've
Hmm.
lost your spark, you're irritated, you yell at your dog when you never ever yell at your dog, right? You just have a shorter fuse. Um, a lot of negative emotions begin to just take residence in your daily life. And all of those things are just signs like I'm on my way to burnout,
Hmm.
where the weekend isn't going to do it for me. And like I said, I've been there, and it's not like it's like a vacation doesn't quite restore it. I think that's another good way to look at it. A one week a 1 week vacation doesn't bounce you back from burnout. It might just be a reprieve, but the problem is how you're living in
Hmm.
whatever that way. You're taking on too much stress, or you don't have boundaries, or you're working too long of hours. Um, it can be any number of things that can burn us out.
Yeah, you feel almost like a loss of self. Like you are like directionless, kind of just like a boat lost at sea. You're just like, I've been paddling this thing over and over again. I'm getting nowhere, and now I'm exhausted, and I'm just floating in the middle of the ocean. No land, not even in sight. Um, I James Robbins does not condone or support my message, but I would say take magic mushrooms and it'll just hit the reset button. You'll be thinking about life completely differently.
Really, tell me more. I'm curious about your antidote there.
Okay, a mushroom trip, I would say 2 grams is more than enough for anyone. Anything above that, like, it's to me, it's unnecessary because people already have like built up anxiety from the pandemic, like all of these things that are just like heightened in us now. That I think doing an overdose of psilocybin would be not good. But what I've found is, and there's like proven scientific work on this, that it actually like remaps your neural pathways. So it frees you for about 7 hours to fully just like sit in one spot and just think about everything. Think about your life, think about like everything. And it kind of opens your brain up creatively, and it gives you almost permission to view yourself like objectively for a moment. Because I always say, like, the advice that you give to the best friend is often advice that you should be taking yourself. Like, it's so easy for us to like give other people advice, but when it comes to ourselves, we have such ego with it. And so psilocybin allows like an ego death moment where you go like, oh, I'm just, another person. Every single, Seneca like went through this, like every single person in history. I'm sure Cleopatra had days where she was insecure and burned out from running her empire. Like, this is not unique to me, and like I just need to do what really like what you put energy into that you really get back from.
That's interesting. I've never heard anyone say that. I've heard people talk about how psilocybin can rewire certain neural pathways and definitely give you that objective view. But I hadn't connected it to a possible sort of antidote to burnout.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, because it's viewed as almost like a reset button on your brain, like your computer's frozen and you just hit the reset button, and you come out of it. I remember the first time I did it, it just radically like I was maybe 23, and it just radically changed my perspective on everything that I was doing up until that point. And it's interesting because it's not one of those things that like you want to take all the time. Like it's almost like a roller coaster. Like you ride a bunch of roller coasters for a day and you're like, I'm good for a year. I don't need to come back and do that again. Like I'll do it the next time I feel like getting on a roller coaster. Which is a really good analogy for mushrooms, because once you take it, it's like the bars have come down and you're like, we're in it now. Like I can't, I'm not going to sober up. It's literally impossible. Like the drugs are going to do their thing, and you're on the ride. And almost that like acceptance is like really healing as well, of just accepting what's happening to you and just, okay, we just have to work through this.
I think that's my big block to take psilocybin, because I hate roller coasters, because once that bar like locks down, I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't get off. And I'd be worried that I get into some trip and now I don't have control and I've just
I,
got to go on
I,
this ride.
I have an answer for
That
that too.
terrifies me.
I have an answer for that too. So because like I had done them like a fair amount of times, my girlfriend didn't really have any experience with that. So I was like, I'll guide you. I'll literally like do it. And the thing is, going into something, you have to go into it with intention, because like ancient tribes used to view this as medicine. Like it was plant medicine to them. It wasn't a drug. That's like a relatively new word. They viewed it as medicine and like healing for their soul, in a way to like connect to this like weird like experience. And so if you go in with intention, if you go in with like a pillar, and my pillar was, I'm here to help her. I don't get to be scared or anxious or upset or anything that I feel in the moment. My sole mission is to make sure that she has a good time through this and gets what she wants to get out of it. And I found that I was able to like literally go through the motions like a tour guide. Like I was showing her my hometown, like, okay, and that's, you're going to be feeling this now. And then, cause I was feeling it too. I'm like, and then this should start happening. You might feel a little nauseous. Don't worry. Like, go here. And you need someone like that if you're doing it for the first time, that can kind of walk you through these feelings you're having so you don't get anxiety. But what I would do is leave notes from my sober self around the house. So I would have like, a sticky note on the fridge that was like, hey, everything's going to be fine. This is not forever. You just took mushrooms. And then you'd see that and go, oh, okay, I'm going to be fine. Because my sober self left me a note. Like that's literally how you view it. You view it like there's two different people here operating in the same space. It's really funny.
One of my kids called me one time because they had taken a lot of mushrooms and they were like, Dad, I'm freaking out. This is what I've done. I know it'll pass, but I just need someone to tell me that it's okay. I was like, okay, well, this is a new conversation, but I'm glad they felt safe enough to call me. So
Yeah, yeah, that you got to give credit there, right? Like, especially in
for
Colorado.
sure.
I mean, like, it's a lot. There's a lot happening there in this space of them legalizing certain things and allowing for more medical research on it. And I think that's what's important, because soldiers with like PTSD could benefit greatly from
For sure.
even like what's it called? like MDMA therapy they found. It's a really
Yeah.
like exciting time for that sort of thing. But I do think there is a lot to be said about, you know, trying our best to work through and notice these things without the need of taking something. Like we shouldn't become dependent on, you know, oh, every time I feel burned out, I'm going to have mushrooms. It's like that's not a good habit to have either. I'm just suggesting that maybe it's a good one-time option, not like a recurring thing. I think the most important thing is like the work that you're doing where you're like helping people notice these things before, you know, before they burn out.
Well, that's where if we're going to have a Venn diagram and where things meet in the middle, part of that is getting people to, in a sense, detach, right, from ego to be able to kind of look back at their life, which is difficult for people, when we're in it. And whether they use meditation, whether they go out to nature or, plant medicine, the idea is, can I step out of all the programs? Can I step out of the matrix that
Mm-hmm.
runs most of my life and then think, okay, what do I want though? Like, what do I want? Why am I here?
Mm-hmm.
What's my soul's reason for being here? And then let me step into a more authentic place. But it's always a scary place to step into as well, because the ego knows it's probably going to get judged a bit more.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Um, there's one other question here. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you about this. So, as part of my research, I found out in 2013, the U.S. government recognized you as a person with extraordinary ability under the National Interest Waiver Program. Can you describe what that felt like and what you believe is the extraordinary ability that you bring to the discussion of leadership?
That was that's amazing that you found that. Yeah, so there's different ways that you can get visas into the States, but one of them is this natural national interest waiver, where if they think that you are an asset to the nation.
I love it.
So I think this probably speaks more to my ability to, I don't know, market and write compelling things, in the application. But because some of the leadership work that I'd created, especially through my work, 9 Minutes on Monday, it's a leadership framework, and it's so effective that it really does help workplaces increase, retention and lower turnover. And it was it was based on that. Like we were bringing something that just wasn't being taught in that way.
Mm.
It's, leadership skills are taught everywhere, but I had a different approach to it. And part of that was grounded in, caring about your staff, taking care of them. But yeah, I think that with the book, um, also, you put this case together of, it's not just like they are like randomly looking around and like, oh, this guy
Yeah.
is an asset. Like you're the one that's making the case for that.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things was, President Obama was following me on Twitter, and
That's helpful.
yeah, and I included that as part of it. But
Yeah.
honestly, I think what happened,
Screenshot.
I did. I think what happened, because
It's
it would say,
amazing.
like, I don't know, he follows like 500,000 people, but like
Yeah.
millions follow him. But on mine, it said President, Barack Obama follows you. I think what happened was, back in the early days of Twitter, everyone had auto follow on. And I
Yeah.
think I probably followed like right in the first month. And so then it
Oh,
said he followed me, and probably followed a whole bunch of other nefarious
so funny.
people. Who knows? But anyways, or maybe he actually did follow me, but I, I submitted that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Speaking of 9 Minutes on Monday, the core idea of that book is that managers are neglecting their leadership priorities. What would you say is the number one thing that typically hijacks a manager's attention on a Monday morning meeting, and how does that framework defend against it?
So everyone is so busy. Everyone is too busy. And so what happens when we're too busy, we want to focus our attention on the things that we've got to get done, which are always tasks. And the challenge with leadership's a really nebulous thing, right? It's like where are the edges? It's very intangible. And so our brain is just naturally drawn to clarity and tangible things. Like, what would I rather do? Return the email to Joey, or Talked to Sarah about her bad attitude in the meeting
Right.
this morning. Well, the email's going to win every time. So there's a bias there to just task work. And so what happens is managers get locked into the weeds and then they forget about, I don't even know how my people are doing. I don't even know what's going on with them, or are they happy? Are they stressed? Are they not? Or I'm not being intentional about the few things that drive engagement: caring about your staff, helping them grow, recognizing great work, giving them feedback so they can feel like they're making progress, helping them feel purposeful at work, not micromanaging them and letting them have some autonomy. So those are just, six of the things off there. But um, each one of those things don't take a long time, but they just get shut out
Mm.
because we're busy changing light bulbs, as they say. We're
Right.
busy checking emails and getting things off our to-do list. 9 Minutes on Monday is all about coming in and just taking a few minutes and asking these 9 questions. Hey, who am I going to connect with on my staff? Who am I going to help grow this week? Who am I going to recognize for something great? Who am I going to give feedback on their progress so they can see how they're doing? Basically, like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're simple and they don't take a lot of time, then managers are like, oh, I can do that. But it's those little steps repeated over, the 250 days that you're working,
Mm-hmm.
that's what elevates performance and elevates you as a leader.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And like the email thing, it really is a trap. Like I work in sales, and the first phone call you got to kind of like force yourself to do it. You're like, I don't really, maybe it's too early. I don't want to call, or like maybe I'll wait till noon, or I'll just send a couple. It's a real like block and hurdle to get over. But I always find like it's a momentum thing. Like once you pick up the phone once, it's so much easier to dial that next number and pick up the phone again, and just talking to someone directly gets something resolved so much faster than an email. People will ignore an email for days if they want to. Like you're just gonna get lost in the promotional emails that they're getting if you're not standing out, right? Or maybe you
Yep.
even get flagged as spam and they don't even see it. It just gets tossed in their spam
For
folder.
sure. Yeah.
So yeah, I've always tried to pick up the phone. There's one question that I always ask all my guests, and the question is essentially it is like, what advice would you give to your younger self? But I want to add like a bit of a caveat. I want you to think of you at 15 years old. So who you were at 15, where you were at 15, and the phone rings and it's you now on the other end, and you get to give your younger self a piece of advice. What would you say?
I'm going to tell my younger self that you have to understand so much of what you see in front of you is one big game. And don't take it so seriously, but learn to play the game. And the biggest thing in that is you just better choose to believe in yourself, because the all the time where you doubt yourself and you feel insecure and you think, is someone going to like me or not like me, you're just wasting time and you're wasting your talent. Just believe in yourself, and you're going to make mistakes, learn from them, but keep going. That's what I would tell my 15-year-old self.
That's beautiful. I love that. Let's end on that. I'm gonna promote your Instagram is james.r.robbins, but also go to his website, jamesrobbins.com, where you can buy his books, The Call to Climb and 9 Minutes to Monday, on Monday. And also iwillclimb.com. And you have a podcast too.
Yeah. Thanks, Johnny. Thanks for
Born to Climb
walking through
podcast.
my places.
Yeah, all these links are always in the description, so people can go right there and click them and check your stuff out. But James, thanks so much for making time today to come on the show. I really appreciate it.
Johnny, thanks. Good to be here.
Yeah. All right. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too, man. See ya.
See ya.